Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I have quite a video for you. I wouldn't have made this video. Normally it's not the kind of thing I focus on. I really kind of try to do other content, mostly original content, but people have been asking me for my commentary and analysis lately. I have only covered Lawtube drama 2 times on my channel. And both times it was because my good friends were personally maligned. You know, you guys know Legal Mindset Andrew, good friend of mine, and I don't like to see people talking about him. I'm going to say something, but I've had people asking me to talk about a specific situation between Andrew Branca, Law of Self-Defense, and Natalie Lawyer Chick, and the spat, you could call it, the feud, the battle that has occurred and been waged. And so we will get into it. It is pretty interesting. But I do want to say, before we do that, thank you to everybody who is subscribed to the channel. I know we've got a lot of new people in lately. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys all taking the time to subscribe, to like my videos, to comment, to share them on social media. We are very, very close to hitting 10,000 subscribers. I know we can get to 15K soon. That's the goal. That's our short-term goal. So if you are part of the family already, thank you for being part of it. I really appreciate it. And if you're new to the channel, I hope you consider subscribing and becoming part of the family here, which we are. And so I also want to say my last video, I put out a video talking about an incident with my mother. I was not sure if I should put that video out there. It's kind of like personal, and I didn't know what to expect. It's like, I see this stuff as sort of like embarrassing, talking about like a toxic, abusive family member, but the comments that I got on that video were overwhelmingly positive, supportive, encouraging. I've read every single comment, by the way, on that video. There were tons of them. And I was surprised by how many people had a similar experience, whether it's a family member, a friend, a coworker. Everybody has somebody that has kind of been in that situation, or they have a similar story. And just reading your stories was, it made me feel better. It made me feel like I'm not alone, you know, and also it made me feel like I don't have to feel bad for cutting somebody out of my life that is a toxic and abusive person to me, has always been, has never apologized or repented for their behavior. And while she is my mother, and I still, of course, care about her and I pray for her, that does not mean that that she is entitled to be in my life and that I have to put up with abuse. And a lot of you guys reminded me of that, because that's something that I struggle with, like, am I doing the right thing? But at the end of the day, I've got to focus on myself and make sure that I'm doing what's right for me first. And so I just want to say thank you guys so much for all of your comments on that. I really appreciate it. So just to show y'all the thumbnail, I think you guys can get a pretty good idea of what my take on this is going to be. Before we get into the analysis and my particular commentary, I do want to give a major shout out to all of the Clips channels. I'm going to tag them in the video description. Guys, I wouldn't be able to make my commentary and analysis videos if there weren't Clips channels out there getting this stuff. I just simply am too busy. I don't have the time to do it. But since you all asked me to cover this particular thing, and the Clips channels happen to put it out there, I want to give a major shout out to Law Nerd Clips, Alyssa Clips, Divinity Said, Grimm's Bar, and others. There are lots of them out there. These people are doing incredible work. What they do takes talent. It is very autistic to be able to go out there, watch hours of content, clip things, put it together, and then get it out really quickly. Like, they are amazing people, and what they're doing is very, very important. And I know that Nick Rekieta has said that himself and has given shout outs to them. So I just want to say thank you for that. I have another video coming out soon that is something that is really my kind of thing that I'm interested in. I hope you guys check that out too. It may not be for everybody, it may not be everyone's cup of tea, but I'm very excited for it, and I think you guys will like it. I think you'll enjoy it. So give it a chance if you're not sure what I'm talking about or what the lore is, the internet lore behind what I'm going to be covering in the next video. Give it a chance, you know?
In that state,
do it for your girl. Okay, so let's start. I believe that this is where this whole thing started. You have Andrew Branca, Law of Self-Defense, and Natalie Lawyer Chick both on with Nick Rekieta, and this is where the disagreement begins.
I know for certain in that state because I've covered cases there. And in my state, operating a motor vehicle is having the vehicle on and running with access to it. They charge people for DUI for sitting in the driver's seat of a...
And right off the bat, I just want to say, watch Nick and watch Branca as she goes down this line of what you could call legal analysis and commentary, but to me is a lot of feels, and then trying to justify feels with spurious claims and bringing up DUI law in a situation where that really has nothing to do with the subject at hand.
Car while
that's
it's
a
running.
completely different context.
See,
just
No,
because they
it's
apply,
not.
yes, it is a completely different context. Think of the rationale of why they don't want you to tase someone operating a vehicle. It's because the vehicle's in motion,
right? And you could
if you're just sitting in a car that's in park, there's no harm that can come to anybody from you being tased sitting in a car that's running but in park.
Exactly.
Why don't they want someone in the driver's seat of a vehicle that is running, that is under the influence of alcohol?
Because you're about to take off in the car.
And this person was about to take off in the car.
But either the taser would work or
She's
it wouldn't.
Unreal.
If it worked, they're disabled. They can't take off in the car. If it doesn't work, they're not disabled. They can take off in the car, but then they're not tased.
That's not true.
If they're immobilized by the taser, how are they going to operate the...
Look at Nick just staring at that glass in his hand. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful.
Vehicle to put it in gear and take off.
And see, that's the thing. We've seen videos of people being tased. They're not immobilized.
What?
I don't know
but then
why.
if they're not immobilized, they're operating...
immobilized.
Either they're immobilized or they're not.
They're not immobilized. That's the thing, is that we've seen videos of people being tased. Their bodies move when they're tased. That's the risk.
In a coordinated fashion?
Not in a coordinated fashion, but that's, accidentally your foot could stick out and stick the thing into... Now, you're not going to accidentally turn the key.
You got to step on the brake, grab the gear shift, put it into drive.
Exactly.
You're going to do that while you're being effectively tased?
That makes no sense. That's absurd.
If the car is in gear, right?
There's no evidence the car was in gear.
None.
What?
There's no evidence the car was in gear.
What?
The testimony is that the car was in park.
Yeah, the car goes into gear, and the testimony on this... the testimony was that the car is in park from Officer Johnson, but they haven't testified on this next part yet, although someone could, is that after the shot is when you see from the dash cam the car actually go through and go into gear, because the lights on the reverse flash right before. So they haven't testified to that. We've talked about it on here. Sort of outside the scope of the trial, but they could testify to that. So that's one of the problems. And this disagreement over this moment in time
is silly.
Is the key of the case, though. And I think the main point, while both of you are raising, these issues, if the car is not in motion and not in gear and he can't operate it, then the taser is appropriate.
Yes.
If the car is in motion or is in gear, then the taser might not be appropriate. The problem the state has is they haven't had anybody testify that it is in gear.
And Potter would have to know it was in gear.
That's right.
It's her reasonable perception of events. So if the car's in motion, it's obvious to everyone it's in motion, right? So that can't be ambiguous. But the car was in park when Johnson was fighting with the gear shift. We know that.
Yeah.
And then later it went into drive because she drove away after the shot. We know that.
Right.
At the moment she fired the taser, if she reasonably believed it was still in park, well, then
Yes.
for legal purposes, it was in park.
Exactly.
So here's my thing is that I don't think it's appropriate to say then that it's not the right context to say operating a vehicle in when the statute defines operating the vehicle for the purposes of DUI and other
Here she
criminal
goes again.
offenses,
DUI.
that it doesn't apply to operating a vehicle here because they could assess with the deployment and use of a taser that the risk is too great that the car could be in motion at the time that you're deploying it, and that you can't assess whether or not the person has actually put the car in gear. So don't deploy it while the vehicle is operating.
But in any case, there is no blanket prohibition on using a taser on someone operating a vehicle. It's not a blanket prohibition.
But there's a policy that suggests against it.
Well,
So
suggesting a suggestive policy is not grounds for a manslaughter conviction. I'm sorry. It's a suggestive policy that has exceptions for officer discretion.
Yes.
Many of the policies have suggestions for officers' discretion, and officers have been found to either be criminally or civilly liable for not following those policies.
Civilly,
not criminally.
Criminally, yes, they have.
Show me a case comparable to this one where that's happened.
You can't find a case comparable to every single case, and obviously I'm not going to be able to do that off the fly. But the whole purpose is that either we have officers follow policies or we don't. So here, this officer has to.
No, that's not the question. The question is when they break policy, what do we do to them? Do we fire them and sue them, or do we put them in prison?
Sometimes
that's the question.
We put them in prison. Maybe that's not what should be done here. But it does not mean that that's not the basis of the state's case. I'm not saying that the defense will not come forward and have a great case for why she may not have followed this policy, or she did follow this policy, but say she may not have followed this policy, but it is not equal to criminal liability. I think that there's very likely going to be something here that says that. All I'm saying is that
the policy is don't tase unless other means have proven ineffective. Other means have proven ineffective. She's within policy.
Yes.
A jury could find that she had other means available to her, such as the fact that they knew who he was, and so they could have let him go and then gone and found him and arrested him later.
What?
That's ultimately what criminal.
So that's why you let him flee at speed from a traffic light.
That's insane.
With a woman who may be the protection order.
Yeah.
Victim here.
Say that again.
They also were concerned that there was an order of protection taken out against him by a woman, and they needed to confirm that was not the woman.
Right.
They can't do that if he flees.
Exactly.
I completely understand that. What I'm saying is that that's your position. The prosecution thinks differently, and it's up to the jury to decide. So all that I'm saying is that is the prosecution's case.
Well, we're commenting on the strength and weaknesses of these legal arguments, right? That's why we're here.
But it's not, but the way that you're phrasing it is though it's like a per se, it's already concluded type of thing. And all I'm saying is that there's still a question. Sometimes I think that there is no question. Like, I'm like, okay, well, what's the point of this? But I still genuinely think that there's a question depending on what else is brought out in the case.
I think that if that's the state's argument, it's so far distant, light years distance from any proof beyond a reasonable doubt that I think a conviction would be unjust on the merits. I'm not saying it can't happen. I mean, innocent people are convicted all the time.
All the time.
But I don't see the legal merit that proves guilt beyond a reasonable doubt on that argument when technically her conduct is within policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to disagree with that. I don't see that all the evidence has come out. And so now again, if there's someone that says, look,
well, different evidence would change the analysis, but I'm talking about the evidence we have in hand at the moment. Her conduct was technically within policy.
Yes.
I don't know how you can disagree. It's a factual policy, and we have evidence in hand.
Because you're saying two things. On one hand, you said that it's within policy. On the other hand, you said that it's just a suggestive policy, and the fact that she doesn't follow it doesn't mean that she's committed a crime. She has not followed policy. If she's tasing somebody, if she think, and I do genuinely think she thought she was using a taser.
What he said.
That's why I'm saying taser. Sure. I'm not trying to mistake the facts. So, but if she's tasing somebody while they're operating a vehicle, and either
that's not the policy.
Exactly.
You're only reading half the policy. That's why you're struggling here. The policy says don't tase someone in a car unless other means have proven ineffective. That's the policy.
Right.
So
other means have proven ineffective.
I don't agree with you on that. Another means would have been to let him go.
Oh, just let him go.
Well, you can always let them go.
In the vehicle.
Yes, and the policy allows for her to.
But their job is to make an arrest on a warrant and secure the safety of the female passenger who may well be the woman protected under the order of protection.
Maybe go kill that woman.
The female passenger wasn't insured when he shot.
What?
And then the car crashes into
nothing is ever insured.
Exactly.
No one knows 100%. That's why being a cop is a hard job.
Well,
feels. That was basically what she was saying there at the end. Okay, moving on to the next clip here.
I forgot to do the grift. Guys, click the fucking like button.
By the way, folks, I want to make very clear, please don't go to...
And I will say it here. I'll do the grift too. Guys, if you're listening, click the like button. I'm kidding, but really, please do it.
Natalie's Twitter timeline and give her shit about this.
Oh my God. So this is my problem with this woman. Every single thing she says boils down to feels. Like she has a very obvious bias and political stance on things. And she says everybody she disagrees with is racist, bigot, sexist, whatever. And so here she is once again saying that. But listen to Branca, because this dude is a king.
I don't want anything like that. That's not what we're here for. I'm just here to give kind of my perspective of this interaction. Definitely no dog piling on Natalie. I've seen her real world photos. She has enough to deal with as it is.
Let me set the stage, I suppose. You are,
oh my God.
You are Andrew Branca.
King.
You're a humble self-defense merchant.
Absolute
You're out here
king.
talking about doing case analyses for the public just for whatever, just because that's what you do. You do analysis of cases.
He does.
And then occasionally you get hired to consult on actual cases that involve the use of force in self-defense capacities. That's your specialty. And there are not too many people who have the kind of qualification, expertise that you do in this field. Is that accurate?
To my knowledge, I'm the only one in the country.
And so when people get involved in a self-defense situation in any of the states or in federal court or whatever, sometimes they will call you up and say, hey, I would like you to consult on my case, please. And help my team construct an argument for the justified use of force, right? Is that accurate too?
When you say they call me, I should make clear, it's the attorney that calls me.
Is that what it is?
Calls me. Right.
So you're saying, I don't believe this. So you're saying that I
love Nick because he already knows, but look how he is presenting this. He sets it up because he knows. I just thought that was so funny. He's such a showman.
Attorney calls you, not the client themselves who calls you without the knowledge of their attorney.
Right, because that would be unethical. Because if they've retained counsel, I'm not going to interfere with that attorney-client relationship by speaking directly with the client. I would speak with their attorney, which is the appropriate avenue of communication. And if they don't have a lawyer, the first thing I would tell them is get yourself a damn lawyer, because I don't take clients directly. Even if they were in Massachusetts, which is the one state where I'm a member of the bar, I would not take them as a client directly. They need to retain local counsel as their lead counsel on the case and have their lawyer call me.
So you're saying that in 100% of the cases where you consult with a legal team, that the lawyer on that legal team has consented to your consultation and actually even is the one who has hired you?
Whoa,
Indeed,
guys.
the check comes from the lawyer.
No.
Yeah.
Mr. Branca, that is ridiculous.
In fact, I would say in 9 out of 10 cases, I never speak to the client at all.
But what about those cases that you provide analysis for on the internet? Is that unethical?
No.
I mean, an attorney commenting publicly on a case that they're not associated with, it seems like there could be ethical problems there.
Yeah, only a very stupid person would think that.
Oh no. Oh no. Should we get do you have these tweets? Like do you
I have a few.
Let's go.
You're blocked?
Look, blocked.
So I'm in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, which has a giant hot
Here's
springs
where it
pool.
gets
I'm floating
funny,
in the
guys.
pool, having family visiting from out of state, and we're all having a grand time. And I look at my phone, and I'm starting to get tweets from people saying, "Hey, Andrew, you need to address this." And this was apparently Nat Lawyer Chick throwing shade at yours truly, attorney
Rude.
Andrew Branca. So I said, well, maybe I should take a look. I wonder what she's saying about me that everyone is getting so upset about. So I went to look, but I can't see her tweets because she blocked me.
Because she blocks everyone.
So this is the
she
sign of a
disagrees
genuine
with.
intellectual coward. They
Yes.
block you and then they talk shit about you from
They cry out in pain as they strike you.
behind the block. Tough She-Hulk lawyering here. So thanks, Natalie. That was always appreciated. So I mentioned this also because I don't have direct access to her tweets, obviously. So other people have sent me her tweets. I don't know if I got all of them that involved me or if it was a select group. I can only respond to the ones I received. But if Natalie would like to clear anything up and have a one-on-one conversation or debate, I'm easy to find. I haven't blocked her. So keep that in mind, Natalie.
He's throwing down the gauntlet. He says, listen, lady, if you want to talk and have a debate, a conversation, here I am. Are you not entertained?
always available to you to talk. These are, you might think that these were two different people. These are supposed to be the same woman.
Hang on. False advertisement. I'm going to say here, and I'm going to speak for my guys. What you're seeing in front of you is a common tactic. This is what we call false advertising. Look at the profile picture, the PFP, and then look at the other picture. What is this? If you did not know better, you would look at these two and you would have no idea that this is the same woman. It is the woman we just watched in the clip earlier. Does she actually look anything like that profile picture? How many years old is it? First of all, 10 years ago? Let's be honest here, okay? This is not right. False advertisement, 100%. And then I would also venture to guess, were filters applied, or perhaps a little bit of Photoshop touching up?
They don't look like the same person to me. The circle, of course, is what she presents in her tweets as her avatar. That's what we're supposed to think she looks like. The other is the photograph that she has in her little bio when you click to look at her account. If this isn't grounds for federal wire fraud charges, I'm not sure what is.
I guess while we're accusing people of crimes, federal wire.
Oh, that was fucking amazing.
Clearly misleading.
Misleading.
Okay, so how did this beef start, though? This is where I'm
confused. It started on your show.
Law.
So apparently she took offense. We were going through Lawtube.
In Lawtube.
So it was the clip that we just played. That was what started this entire thing. That is what set this creature off. Okay, that's what made her livid, angry, and slinging accusations. As you could see, they were both, giving their take, their analysis, their commentary on the Kim Potter case. It was civil. Branca did not call this woman any names. Her reaction was an overreaction due to, I would suggest, and I would submit to you, oversensitivity, perpetual victimhood status, and the invalidation of anyone who has a different opinion than her as being racist, sexist, bigoted, etc.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put the dicks on the table.
Whip it out.
Who's your least
on the table,
favorite
guys?
person?
I don't remember their name, so
He doesn't even remember
Describe their content.
You are not
and I will tell you
even
their name.
memorable.
it's racially centric?
Oh shit! So true.
Who?
They have a
Racially
racial
centric?
agenda in their content?
Legal Eagle?
He's
No,
not involved.
I don't think so.
Oh, a
Sweet
racial agenda,
Andrew.
you said.
So
Racial.
sweet.
Did I stutter?
Male or female?
Did I
No,
stutter?
No.
it wasn't you. It was
Female?
it's
He said
female. Oh shit, I think I know who it is.
We all know.
Is it Natalie Lawyer Chick?
That's the one. Yes.
Okay.
Everything is racist all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, because the law is supposed to divorce itself from racism, right?
Well, we'd like to think so, wouldn't we? That would be appropriate.
My only interaction with her has been on legal analysis on various cases we were covering,
Yes.
particular the Kim Potter case. And there, I found her commentary. She was a guest, as I was, on your show, so we were exchanging dialogue.
Right.
Her legal view of that case, her legal analysis of the case, to be very childish and simplistic, and not something I would expect to come from someone who was a good attorney. The particular issue involved the question of Kim Potter had thought she was deploying a taser
Right.
on the driver of the car.
Accidentally
She
pulled a
actually, of
gun.
course, deployed her pistol and shot him dead.
Right.
But she thought she had a taser. And the question was, well, was even a taser appropriate on those circumstances? And Natalie's
Clearly it
argument was no,
was.
it wasn't appropriate because you're not supposed to use a taser on someone who's operating a vehicle.
Okay, this was her feels argument. Well, I feel. That's the substance of what she was saying. Really, it was my feels.
But it was an open question whether the vehicle was in gear, for example. The reason you don't want to tase someone who's with a car in the driver's seat in gear is that just the shock, the electric shock could
It could
push
force
their foot on the
their,
gas
yeah.
and the car
Yeah.
could speed off. And so definitely if the car's in gear and they're in a position where they could put the vehicle into motion, you may not want to tase them. You're creating risks to the public by doing that particular risk. But here is an open question whether the car was in gear or not.
Right.
right.
So whether that particular risk of the taser even existed on the facts of this case.
Exactly.
and
And
there's
Natalie's position was that, well, no, it doesn't matter whether the car was even running because DUI law, drunk driving law, says you're operating a vehicle
Drunk
even if all you do
driving.
is put the key in.
Drunk driving law. What? Like, the fact that she goes to that just to try to justify her feels-based emotional response to this and her own personal racial agenda, bias, is pretty ridiculous. We're talking about a use of force issue. It's nothing to do with drunk driving.
The ignition. And that's true. But this is where the quality of lawyering comes in. There's many terms of art in the law that mean one thing in one legal and factual context and mean something else in a different legal and factual context because the public policy and goals are different for
matters.
each of them. So having a car operating a vehicle for DWI purposes, the reason just putting the key in the ignition is enough is because it's an obvious, necessary precursor step to driving down the road. And we don't want drunk people driving down the road. So if you're drunk and you're taking those necessary precursor steps to drive down the road, we say you're operating the vehicle. That you're not putting the key in for no reason. You're not putting the key in to then get out of the car and leave it there. You're putting the key in for the purpose of driving the car down the road.
Correct.
But that doesn't apply in the use of force context because what applies in the use of force context is whether that car is likely to become a missile going down the street. And then it matters whether or not the motor is actually running or the car is in gear. So you can't simply grab the operating a vehicle language from drunk driving law and pull it into use of force law and pretend it has the same application when the underlying issues are completely different. So I thought that just
context,
that's like a first-year law student mistake.
There were some issues. I took issues with her analysis too, and I actually take a lot of issues with what I would consider a very pedestrian analysis of the Kim Potter shooting, which was, frankly, from a lot of people, black victim, white cop, therefore racially motivated and guilt.
The virtue signal. the grift. We're all familiar with it. White people bad, black people holy. Don't do anything wrong. That this is the mindset, the infantile mindset that has been inculcated into the soft minds of the American public.
And the problem with Kim Potter and Dante Wright. Dante Wright was the name. I had to think back to the white chick who was coding black chanting Dante Wright. Our people don't have life insurance. Our buildings have life insurance. I had to remember her. That she's such a beautiful thing.
They said buildings don't have life insurance.
Buildings don't have insurance. Y'all see how fast they built that Target back? All the Targets, everything that was built. Fucking you see how they rebuilt Northside? They gonna do it again. They gonna continue.
What the fuck am I watching? Holy shit. What is this? This is not how this lady talks. She is attempting to be black because she knows that that's how you virtue signal. She knows that you don't get brownie points. You don't get little crumbs and handouts for being white. You get special privileges the other way around.
Continue to rebuild everything while they continue to kill our people. These buildings have insurance, everything.
Look at Trax. He's like, what did this bitch just say?
Your face. Our people. All the white women getting shot everywhere.
Look at Trax. He's like,
Are you fucking serious?
yes,
It
this
gets
is
better
real.
than this. So Dante
That
Wright.
actually
So
happened.
he's black, she's white, therefore there's race involved, which there was, in this case, literally no evidence that there was any racial animus ever. Kim Potter doesn't have a history of racial animus. There wasn't a motion in limine removing some history of racial animus.
None.
She had a rather exemplary police record, and all of the evidence boiled down to she thought she was drawing a taser.
Yes.
Like that seems to be very clear. There's no evidence presented that she somehow was hiding the fact that, or that the taser narrative came after or something like that. It was contemporaneous. She yells taser, taser, taser. All of the stuff that she does is consistent with drawing a taser, except for the fact that she pulls her gun and shoots.
Right.
Yep.
Even the state never argued that she knew she had a gun in her hand. In fact, they argued wrongly. This should be an appealable issue, but for various reasons, it's unlikely to be. But they argued to the jury that they had no duty. They had no legal obligation to show that she knew she had a gun in her hand, which is bad law. That's a mistake.
Very bad law.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
but even they
crazy.
were not prepared to say that she knew she had a gun in her hand. Nobody made that claim.
Kim Potter's case has a matter of law that was, we'll say, glossed. I'll say glossed due to the actual social narrative surrounding that case.
Exactly.
And the matter of law is, can you prosecute someone for a mistake, an accident, for something that has not the requisite intent? And as a matter of law, based on the facts, even the facts in the favor most favorable to the state, I have a hard time saying that Kim Potter is responsible for a murder or a manslaughter in that case, because she did not use the deadly force that in her mind that ended up occurring. She believes she drew a taser and tased this guy. But what she pulled was a gun.
That may well have been negligent conduct. You could argue she should have known that it was a taser, not a pistol. That's negligence. That's civil liability. But to get to criminal liability, the conduct has to be reckless. And recklessness requires that you know you are creating the risk, the unjustified risk, and you do it anyway. She did not know she had a gun in her hand. No one ever argued she knew she had a gun in her hand. It can't have been recklessness on those facts. But the prosecution was allowed to misstate recklessness to the jury by the judge. The conviction resulted.
But on that,
and that's because of the SJW narrative. We all know it. It's because of the media coverage, the media attention on this. These are not fair trials, in my opinion. Oftentimes, they have the appearance of fairness, but they're really show trials. They're kind of kangaroo courts.
Matter of law, and that's what we've discussed. And she didn't really comment on the matter of law. Instead, she seemed to, in my opinion, she seemed to bring the racial narrative into the factual analysis, and I thought that was improper.
It is.
Personally, and I disagreed with her analysis, but she feels that
especially if there's nothing to back that up. She can't cite anything to suggest that that is what happened in this situation. The only thing she has is her feels.
Is justified by the jury verdict. And I mean, to some extent, she is, right? A jury found her guilty, and that is the way to go. I personally don't think it ever should have gotten to a jury.
Right. Unfortunately,
Agreed.
these cases that involve race, there's a certain segment of the community, the legal community, that will just look at them and jump to the racially favored conclusion.
Yeah.
Which is white officer, black suspect, guilty because of race, because of systemic racism.
They love that.
Listen, we live in a free country, mostly free country. You got First Amendment rights. You got freedom of whatever opinion you want. It's fine with me. Express whatever opinion you want.
You're allowed to have
but don't call it
opinion.
legal analysis.
Yeah,
That's not legal analysis.
It's not.
So this is after she blocked me, by the way. So she's just shit talking now. She's not trying to get any, I guess, not thinking to get a response from me because I won't see these. Maybe she's not aware. People will bring them to my attention. I don't know. But she's shit talking from behind the block. Ooh. Just saw a video where he, talking about me, says he hates me. Well, that never happened. I mean, this is an outright lie. And says something about her emotional state, because she's not saying that someone told her I said that. She's saying she saw a video in which I said I hate her. Folks, I don't hate anybody, least of all her. I mean, I don't bother hating unimportant people. So this is this is just an outright lie. So she's starting right off here just with a bald-faced lie.
Yep.
Not a good start, Natalie. Then maybe she goes to correct herself. I don't know. But how would you have seen a video where I said I hate you when that never happened?
I think the closest thing you may have said is that you disagreed with her legal analysis. You probably used stronger language than disagreed, but I don't think hate was ever mentioned. That was
not.
Very, very weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think her legal analysis is garbage, but I don't hate her.
Right.
What would be the point? Then this came up. Sorry, I'm his least favorite.
There you go.
Somebody must have corrected her. I did say that for sure. Yeah. Because I say everything is racial and the law doesn't involve race. Now, it's because she doesn't speak very clearly, so it's difficult to understand what she's trying to get at. I do feel that she brings a very heavy dose of race.
And by the way, she does that on purpose. She knows exactly what she's doing. It is a classic female manipulation tactic.
Debating with her to her views of these trials. That's my perception. I'm entitled to my opinion like everybody else. Go watch her content and feel differently about it if you like. That's up to you. And then she says, I guess she's saying, attributing to me, the law doesn't involve race. And I'm saying the law doesn't involve race. I've never said that. In fact, it's the opposite. My concern is when the law does involve race, when these cases do become racially energized.
Your legal arguments end the moment you enter trial stage. Like
that's why I never predict verdicts.
Right. I thought you did. I read that somewhere.
Did you?
I did. I did.
Another one. So here she's talking about that burger shooting, the video we just watched. She writes, it's so clear that the cop who shot that young man eating a burger was wrong and should be charged with attempted murder. There was no justified use of force. That's not how lawyers approach these questions, folks.
It's not. These are feels. She's not making any kind of legal argument. What she's doing here is feels. And she's, by the way, she's not a use of force expert.
Lawyers think to themselves, all right, if I were called to defend this cop, what would my narrative of innocence be? What are the legal doctrines, the legal defenses, consistent with the facts as I know them, that I could raise to knit together a legal defense? You don't just throw up your hands and say, well, the other side's got all the answers. That's not what lawyers do. This is the gut emotional response I would expect from someone who's a normal layperson who sees this. And folks, it's normal when we see a bad outcome to have a negative reaction to it. This is a bad outcome. This should not have happened.
Right.
The Kim Potter taser shooting, bad outcome, should not have happened. The female cop in Dallas who shot the black man in his apartment, bad outcome, should not happen. but that doesn't mean they're crimes. The bad outcome doesn't make it a crime.
Exactly.
Whether or not it's a crime is based on legal doctrines and the law applied to the facts of the particular case. Merely having a bad outcome does not decide the question. Obviously, this was a bad outcome, and people see the bad outcome and they emotionally respond. This shouldn't have happened.
Yep.
Therefore, someone must be criminally responsible. But that does not follow. And a lawyer, a good lawyer, would know that.
Yes,
your initial
exactly.
reaction is one thing. Your legal analysis can be completely different.
Exactly.
And realistically, your legal analysis can be colored by your internal thoughts on a thing. And you can try and eliminate and account for them, but it's not always going to work.
Yes.
But it's also fair to call that out.
Yeah.
It's also fair to say, hey, I think your analysis is based on these particular facts, which is not good legal analysis.
I mean, anybody can come on and bring an opposing point of view. That often happens, right? Get Nate the lawyer on here. He'll have a different view of these cases than I do. Most common thing in the world. I have nothing but great respect for Nate.
Exactly.
So
Me
lawyers
too.
disagreeing shouldn't be shocking or disturbing to anybody. That's what lawyers
Literally
do. That's water
every
is wet.
case.
This is no justified use of force, yet experts, she puts it in scare quotes, presumably that's me, are trying to justify that shooting. I don't justify anything, folks. I do legal analysis. I say, this is the argument I would make if I were defending this cop.
Exactly.
I care a lot about legal process and argument. I don't particularly care about the outcome. None of these people in these cases are friends of mine or family of mine.
Right?
It doesn't mean anything personally to me if they get convicted or they get acquitted. But I care about the process. I care about how we get to that decision point.
Exactly.
I don't try to justify or not justify anybody's particular conduct. Then she writes, and I thought this is very mirror of her. It could be useful for a little introspection, Natalie. People can get law degrees and still be blinded by prejudice. You don't say.
Oh, really, Natalie? Huh. So funny. The lack of self-awareness of this woman and the projection, the arrogance, the narcissism, the grandiosity, the grandstanding. We're not having it here. Anyways, that's my take on this video, on this spat, this feud, this blood libel. That's how I feel about it. Let me know what your thoughts are. What do you think about this whole situation? What do you think about, number one, the Kim Potter case? What are your thoughts on that? What do you think of the legal analysis of Natalie Lawyer Chick, I believe is her name? And what do you think about what Mr. Andrew Branca, law of self-defense, had to say in this particular situation and context? Anyways, thank you guys for watching. It means a lot to me that you guys care to hear my take on things, my analysis, my commentary, and I always like making these videos for you. So thank you guys, and I'll talk to y'all next time. Ree!